Hello there and welcome to another one. It's the hour that matters. My name is Tatenda, back with another one, and it's Sunday, 9 o'clock, like I said. And in a couple of moments, I met up with Sharne Mayers. She's an international cricketer, a woman, one of the first women to be in the Zimbabwe national team. That is really, really big. And she took time to sit down with me over Zoom, that is, and we had a very, very good chat. She's doing the best that she can to make sure that she's there for you and she's there for the next girl. She joined Rugby Cricket Club a few years ago and she was playing cricket there, then moved on to Wanderers. Right now, she's busy with international hockey as she's an international umpire. So she is in East London at this current moment, and she was gracious enough to sit down with me. Now, before I speak about that part, remember, if you are moving, Best Mini Removals is there to help you with a seamless transition from one office to the next or from one complex to the next, whether you're moving houses, whether you're moving furniture or anything that is. They've got the manpower, they've got the knowledge, and also the trucks to help you load. I always tell you that it's tough, really, really tough when you move, because that needs to be added onto your CV because it's daunting. You don't know which box is what. They will do each and everything for you. Head on down to their website. It's www.bestminiremovals.co.za, or alternatively call. For the people that are watching this on YouTube, there is the whole information right down below. And as you are going through there, Mr. Norman is going to be there to help you. You'd rather move with your car and let him do everything else for you. It's safe, it's convenient, and for every person that is in and around Joburg. Anyway, before I waste any of your time, let's just jump into it. We've got the intro, then we're going to have Sharne Mayers, and let me know in the comment section what you guys think and how that interview impacted you. It is so important for you to like, share, and subscribe, because as you're sharing, there is a girl out there that is going to find relevance in this video and in the advice that she gave. So let's not waste more time. Let's jump in and enjoy this intro. How do you think?
Writing the podcast Being Men as I learn to be a man. Understanding the time, lessons and patience inquire to be a 10. A series of compass insights of the journey for a different turn. Being men, where rivers of the mind flow to give a damn. A movement with river flows, so I be a bailer I can. All stones are turned, all souls affirmed. Writing the podcast Being Men. All stones are turned, all souls affirmed. Welcome to Being Men.
I can hear you perfectly.
I'm good, thanks. Thanks.
Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Oh, that's great.
How have you been?
Yeah, it's so good to see you too.
Good. How have you been?
I've been well. It's been a busy time, but I can't complain. I am recovering from a knee op, but other than that, I'm well.
Ouch. When did that happen?
The knee op happened in August.
Ooh. Oh,
yeah.
Man. I'm sorry, but I'm glad you're on the mend now.
Yeah. No, definitely, I'm on the mend, and I won't lie. When I saw, because I've been following you for your podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, you have had a myriad of different types of people. I didn't know what to expect.
Wow, no, thank you. It's humbling when I hear that from legends like you. So thank you.
You know what? You know what they say about flattery gets you everywhere.
Oh wow, no. But then this is not flattering. This time, this is the truth.
You are way too kind. You are way too kind.
Anyway, Sharne, thank you so much for joining in. I know, 1, you are busy. 2, you've got better things to do. And 3, I know that, you know what, when you have got people that have got so much wisdom, you're like, can I, shouldn't I, when should I, and all that. And you just said yes. So thank you for accepting the invite.
I will always make time for you. I like your podcast. I like the message. So for me, it was a very easy yes.
Wow, appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Anyway, before we get right into the swing of things, there's one question that everyone always wants to ask. and that is, who's that person? So, when you say, or when I said on the group, on our group, that Sharne Mayers has said she's coming, I've got, my wife doesn't know cricket, and the content producer and everyone else, they don't play cricket or they don't know cricket. So the first question that they always come for is, who's that? So unfortunately, for the sake of the people that are watching, who is Sharne?
My name is Sharne Mayers. I'm a Zimbabwean cricket player. I bat in the top. I open the batting for the Zimbabwe women's national team, where I've played since 2006, I think it is.
Yeah.
No, I'm lying. Sorry, I'm lying. Since I was 14. I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. No. Women don't disclose of their age, so don't make us calculate, please.
You know what? I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of my age. My age is what it is. And yeah, I am also a hockey lover. I umpire internationally, and I absolutely love sport. I love development. I love education. But yeah, essentially, Sharne Mayers, a sports lover, talking to you.
Awesome stuff. It's amazing how you say from age 14, you've always been a cricketer or always been into sports. And usually it's not the same. It's not the case with a lot of girls. What prompted, and I know most of these questions that I'm asking, I know your dad is a sports person, but what really prompted you to get into sport and say, this is the journey that I'm going to channel my energy towards and be a success of?
Well, from a young age, especially at home, we would play sport. I've got a very big and close extended family, mainly my cousins. So we would be together at least, twice in a month. There's a lot of us all together, and we would play cricket, play soccer, running around the house. So I've always enjoyed that side of it. And when I got to school, and now it was my first exposure to organized sport, and I realized, I'm actually pretty good at this, and this is fun. Competition is a little bit fun.
Yeah.
And I just took to ball sports mainly, like a duck to water, and the competitive nature in me just kicked in, and I wanted to be better. It wasn't so much about winning, even though I like winning.
Yeah.
But
who wants to lose anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I took to it, and the first sport I ever learned how to play was squash. My dad was a Matabeleland men's squash player, so the first sport I ever learned was squash, and then tennis, and then cricket came in a little bit later through the help of my older sister. She loved watching cricket, and her favorite team was South Africa. And one day she said, let's play, and we played in the backyard, and I never looked back. I just continued playing, especially with my younger brother. Wow. And that was the beginning of the end.
Wow. And they say the rest was history. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. So with your sister helping you, was she a player as well, or she just loved the game without playing?
No, not at all. If you meet my sister is not the sporty one of the family. She is, the academic and the thespian.
Wow.
So she just loved watching the game. She especially enjoyed the matches between South Africa and Australia, the drama, the suspense, the top level cricket. She really enjoyed that. And, there was a rain delay. She said, let's go outside and play. She went back in to watch the cricket. My brother and I continued playing. Wow. She wasn't very good at it, but, kudos to her. Yeah. She made an effort. We got to know a bit more about the game, and just, never stopped.
Wow. Amazing. You could actually write a book from this whole thing, and I'm wondering, why haven't you written a book?
Because my story is not over yet. There's still so much more.
That's why there's part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and whatever. So yeah, we can still do it. how,
Yeah,
how difficult is it though to be a lady in such a male dominated industry and still be able to say, you know what, I deserve to be here and I'm going to be here. And I'm going to come back to when you were 14 or when you were a youngster coming through the ranks, the very first time that you were said, okay, this is where you belong, or you're going to play for a province, or you're going to play for a team because you are one of the few that have made it. And being a woman as well, how did you manage that? Because we all know cricket, rugby, soccer, it's all, I think all sports basically they're male dominated, not because women can't play them, but because society has just said, I think women stay in the kitchen and the gents are outside and doing their thing. How did you manage to get the balance of the two?
it was difficult, but I had a very supportive structure. My parents, especially so, were extremely supportive in me playing sport, especially in primary school, because at that stage, we're all just children. In their eyes, I was just another child that wanted to play a sport. Yes, it was a male-dominated sport, and I went to a school that allowed me to play. And especially in primary school, I was very lucky. There was a girl older than me that was playing, so I wasn't an anomaly at primary school. So it was okay. But towards the end of primary school, where I was the only girl playing, I did become an anomaly, and I did have some very unfortunate experiences where it was I'm taking the place of a boy, and this is boys cricket, it's not girls cricket. And comments like you are bringing the game into, you're making the game a joke by having you there. And what was very encouraging was I had coaches who only selected me on merit. It became very difficult to drop me because I was playing well. And my parents never went in to complain if I didn't make the team. So I always knew that I made the team on merit. I wasn't, just there for show. So that helped. When I got older, that's where I would say the real challenges began in high school. And that's where I saw that, this is a whole different ball game where, experienced cases of bullying, I would report them. And, instead of getting support from, the top, your management at school, or your heads, the people who are in charge, they would encourage me to stop playing. So I wouldn't report things that happened. But by that time, I had developed some really good friendships within the team, and the boys I played with, they were so supportive, and also knew that I work hard and I deserve to be in the team. So it was difficult, but I must say it is so much better now than it was a good 10 years ago, especially being a woman in this space. Back then it was so difficult. You work 10 times harder, get half the recognition. But now I feel that it is so much better. And I am, I would say I am in my peak. So a younger player coming in now will definitely have a more pleasant experience, will enjoy their game more for longer. So yeah.
I was going to touch on that as well, that back when you were still playing a good 10, 15 years ago, you would be the only girl that is playing in a side with mostly boys. Right now, I think 3 or 4 girls in every 10, they play the game. For you, you had to work your way out and actually compete with the very same boys that they are saying it's a male-dominated industry or sport, so to say. So for the girls that are playing now, it's a lot easier, yet some of them are still finding it hard. I think society is struggling to differentiate between a woman and a man. Yes, there's a difference. There's a difference between the two, but then be that as it may, they're still human beings and they can still achieve exactly the same thing that the males are achieving, if not more. And the one thing that I'm actually so glad about is October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's all about women, and we're still struggling as men to still accept women. Do you find that still being a challenge in your career? Right now, you are in international cricket.
Oh, yes. I would say not, I would say, I'm trying to put this as diplomatically
Nice.
as possible. But I would say it's, especially with the layman, with people who aren't involved in the sport, that's where you get a lot more backlash, because they're like, your sport, we don't bowl as fast, we don't hit as far. But I'm like, we also, as women, haven't had the same investment, but that narrative is changing. You have Deandra Dotton. I saw her hit. I saw her hit a bowler into the second tier at the bullring. So you can't exactly say that these things can't happen. It just needs a little bit of investment. But some parts of the world are better, but that narrative is definitely changing and moving in the right direction, especially as women's cricket becomes more competitive. There is more investment. We're starting to see there be generation of income. There's money coming into the game, into the women's game, through women playing. And I think a very good testament of it was the T20 Women's World Cup. I mean, I wasn't there, but to see the interest and how much the game has changed, and people are now talking about these women's players in general, regardless of where they're from, has been a complete game changer, which has forced leagues like the Women's IPL, the Women's Big Bash. It's so encouraging to see that happen, but there is still so much work to be done, especially at grassroots, because the more people you have playing, especially at the bottom, they say fathers and sons go to cricket, and now it's fathers, sons, daughters, mothers, everybody must go to cricket.
Yeah. I want to come back to when Sharne was 14, 15, 16, and you mentioned something around bullying. Yes, you were in a male-dominated, or you had boys that you were playing with, and you said when you went to high school, it was a different ball game. What did you do over and above you being the one that's going to go and cry, or the one that is going to go and report and all that? Did you do anything out of the ordinary to say, I deserve to be here and there's no one that's going to push me? Did you regard yourself as I'm not going to be a pushover. I'm here because I deserve to be here. And if it means I'm going to bat one and face the fastest bowler, so be it. You can hit me, but I'm still in. Did you have that kind of attitude going into high school? Did someone mentor you to have that kind of attitude, or it just came naturally to you?
I think it was a little bit of both. I was very stubborn, and I didn't like people telling me I couldn't do things, especially knowing that I was very capable of doing things, especially those very things they said I couldn't do. So I would go and face the fastest bowlers. I would put myself in situations, sometimes that weren't always safe for me, but I was like, I need to tackle this head on. And even if I did get hit, I did get hurt, I went out cheaply. It is what it is, but I did get judged a little bit differently compared to my peers, because I haven't performed, and they would get laughed at because you've got a girl in your team that doesn't do anything. So I was judged a little bit differently compared to my peers. And they got the backlash for me not performing. So, teenagers can be very difficult, but I would say this was not healthy at all, is I became very aggressive. I became very angry, and it wasn't the best way to deal with things, but I was very volatile and very short fused, and it didn't help any situation. And it's one of the things. It was, you're going to cry or you're going to get angry about it, and crying in that space was not an option. I was not going to be, oh no, you're just a girl. I wanted to be a cricketer. That I was a cricketer that happened to be a girl.
Yeah.
But if I started crying, I then became a girl, and that was it.
Wow.
So, you know, it
Wow.
was a case of I just want to be looked at as a cricketer. Just because I'm a girl doesn't mean it means it's neither here nor there.
Exactly.
And yeah, no, it was my high school years weren't I would say cricket season wasn't always a happy time, but I was always happiest on the field playing despite all of this.
Wow. How then did you manage to balance the two, the academics and the cricket? Because if cricket is stressing you out, surely it's going to affect other parts. And in this regard, it was going to affect your school. How did you then manage to be smart in school and smart in the cricket field?
Well, it happened that I listened well.
Well
I
done.
listened well in class. I listened well in class. But I must say I wasn't the most studious student. I listened well. I caught on quickly. So if I listened well, I was more likely to remember, but I didn't like studying at all. But my parents also were very smart. One thing they didn't do was ever threaten to stop me from playing sport, especially during exam time. It was, you must manage your time and you must make sure that your academics are sorted out, because if they're not sorted out, they're going to schedule extra lessons for me during, you know, trainings and during matches.
Yeah.
So it was a case of sort out your academics so you can play and be with your friends.
Wow.
And that meant that, you know, some things you have to sacrifice. And I think that's where I learned very early on that you must sacrifice. So I sacrificed a little bit of my social life to be able to play sport at a high level. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I thought it was worth it. You know, I don't need to go to every party, to every social gathering with my friends. Essentially, I knew from a very young age that this was what I wanted. And yeah, so it didn't feel like a sacrifice.
Wow. Can you say, though, having parents that are going to understand you in that regard, or believe in your craft, especially when it comes to cricket, and then a lot of parents are not encouraging girls or are not going to be this understanding to a girl because, one, this sport it's not for you kind of vibes. And the parent is saying that, but they've never been to the nets or to the cricket ground to see the actual girl play the game. Yet here you are. Is it because your parents already understood the game that made it easy for them to understand that, yes, you're going to make a living out of it? Yes, you go to school, you get that certificate, but you don't want to sit in an office and answer emails and all that. That's not your life. Is it, did you get that as an advantage because your parents already understood? Because someone that is watching this is thinking, my mom or dad will never understand me going to cricket over going to school or going for extra lessons, whatever the case may be. Could you say that yours was a bit of an advantage because your parents understood the game?
Massive. Having a supportive parents is a massive advantage. Massive. My mother wasn't the most, and in terms of understanding the game, she, I think to this day, is still learning the game.
Wow.
Even though I've played cricket for many years, and she sat at the side of the field watching me and my brother play. So she's still learning the game, but it does help that she understands and understood the need for us to play, especially seeing us so happy. And it was a healthy way for us to, you know, be out with our friends, socialize. It's organized. So it was very, for my parents, it was very understanding. But one thing they did say from a very young age, because that was a time where women's cricket in Zimbabwe was now picking up and going to, you know, starting to put a national women's team together. You know, there was a lot more organization going up, so that they were creating the pathway. And I was starting to get recognition, especially from a young age. So they could see that, you know, there's potential, you can play international cricket. So for them, it was, you can play cricket, but you must study, have something to fall back on. And the way they put it to me was, what happens if you get into a car accident and, you know, you lose your leg? you have to make a living somehow. Or, you know, if you have a career-ending injury, you have to be able to make a living because, you know, you can't play forever. And that's the way they sold it to me. And so I had to study. That's if anything, if it wasn't for that, I would have made some very poor decisions in my life. But they were so understanding and they were very encouraging. And they just said there must be a balance. You must make sure that, you know, cricket, the life of a sports person is very short. At the highest level, so you need to have something to fall back on.
And I think that's the reason why a lot of parents are not so encouraging when it comes to sport, because in as much as, yes, one can be very good, but then a cricketing career or a sporting career is very short. You break a knee and that's it. You break an ankle, that's it. Your back, whatever the case may be. But I don't think parents understand the art of explaining that to you. And you had your parents that made you understand or realize, yes, in as much as you want the sport, but still have something to fall back on. You don't have to go and practice whatever that you studied, but you can still, you know, after 3, 4, 5 years, you're like, not, let me just go back. There's always something to fall back on. So I love that about your parents. And I think that's advice that you can give to young girls or young boys out there that are still playing, that in as much as you are in your peak right now, anything can happen and anything can stop whatever that you're going through right now. Then what? So I like that. A lot of parents, however, don't think they know how to explain it. They just know, don't do it. Why? Don't do it. That's it. You understand? Let's come back to Sharne. As you've gone through high school, you are with the boys and whatnot. I want the very first time that you realize that, wow, I'm playing professional, or I'm going to play professional. How did your mental balance that? Because if you ever heard of that thing of you're gonna pinch yourself, is this real? Is this a surreal moment or what? Did you go through that? And I want to hear it from the horse's mouth.
You know, I'll be honest. I still pinch myself today because sometimes I don't believe some of the experiences I've had are real.
Wow.
But I think the first moment I realized that I could play professional cricket, I mean, I was nowhere near it, but I was about 13, 14, and we're playing in the women's interprovincial in Bulawayo, and I scored, I think it was just over 60 odd runs, and I'm 13 years old, and everybody I'm playing against is much older than I am, but I am playing some really good shots. I am dominating. And that was the first moment where I realized that, you know what, you're actually a pretty good cricketer. Wow. You know, you're not half bad. And I think it happened again. I was in high school. We're playing, I just made the first team, boys cricket team. And I was ecstatic because that's all I wanted. You know, at that stage in high school, I was like, I did not go through all the hardship and all the, you know, all the difficulties to not play at the top level. And I said I was going to work hard to get there. And I was just a few months earlier, I had received the award for Women's Player of the Year for the Zim Cricket Awards. And then I went to play Prince Edward. And Prince Edward that year, 2010, had one of the strongest teams in the country. And with my bowling, you know, lobbing my little offies, I took 5 wickets. And it was unheard of. I'm there on Jubilee Fields. And at that stage, you know, that place is sacred ground. And you take 5 wickets and you're a girl. It caused a big stir because you have, I think, 5 or 6 under 19 players. And, you know, here's this girl's come and taken. And that for me was, you can play top level cricket. So I think, it was around then that I realized I have what it takes. I'm not there yet, but it's in me. I just must keep working. And I was lucky. I had some coaches who was very encouraging and would take time and explain things to me. Whatever I didn't know, I'd go to the coach and I'd be like, Coach, explain, like, just help me out. I want to know more. But yeah, I would say the first time I was about 13 and the second time I was 18. And they were pivotal moments for me where I realized, I could be good at this game and I could make it a career.
I can almost feel your heartbeat when you're explaining this, because you're reliving the moment and the heart is skipping a bit and you're like, and that happened. And Prince Edward was sacred ground for everyone that played in Zimbabwe. I promise you, everyone will be like, I can't wait to play the festivals. So here you are, and it takes great deal of mental strength for a 13-year-old to score a 50, let alone get a fifer. And yet here you are, you're just raw talent. At this stage, that was just raw talent, no coaching whatsoever, but you just being hungry. You spoke about being angry earlier on. Was the anger a way of you trying to fit in? Was the anger a way of you trying to prove? Did you ever want to prove a point that you're good enough, even though you knew that you were good enough?
The anger was, I had no way to express my emotions. In the space I was in, I couldn't express that I was upset, that the things that people had said had hurt me deeply. I can't go and cry. I can't. And in terms of support structure, I would report some of the there was a lot of disgusting things that were said to me. I would report it, as they say, especially in school, report to teachers, report to the people in charge. You go and report to the adults, and the adults aren't dealing with the situation, and they're saying, then you should stop playing cricket. And for me, I was like, I love the game way too much. I'm not saying they must stop chirping me, but I'm reporting some really, things that people get fired for, I'm reporting some really, horrific things that I said to a young girl in high school. And you're telling me I'm the problem. So, it was that frustration, the frustration that I can't show my emotions in this very male-dominated environment, because especially men, I would say, especially back then, it was, you can't show any weakness. And now I'm a girl in this environment, and I now must adhere to those standards as well. So it was very difficult, to say to someone, what they've said, or, this happened as I was going to the bathroom, because there's a boys' bathroom. Most cricket pavilions have a men's bathroom, but they don't have a women's bathroom. So I would have to go somewhere, a little bit further away, and you bump into people, you walk, and people will say some things, and you can't go back and say, this is what's happened. But I would get angry, and unfortunately some of that anger went towards my teammates, my peers, and it was just I would say a terrible coping mechanism, but it was a coping mechanism to try and stop the bullying, because all the horrific things that were said to me. So it wasn't so much about proving anything. It was just I had no way to express my emotions, and I didn't have the words to verbalize what I was going through.
Wow. That's really touching, coming from, you are a young person, so obviously you're not growing up in the 30th century or whatever the case may be, where people didn't understand that a woman can still be successful, and yet you were going through this, and now when you report to the relevant authorities, they tell you to stop playing. That to me comes across as, oh, well, what's the point? Let me leave this game. Yet you persevered. So thank you for that, because at the end of the day, you paved way for another girl that is probably, they're not going through what you went through, but they don't have belief. Because in as much as you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't believe in what you are doing yourself, Everyone else can tell you that you're the greatest, you this, you that. But if you yourself don't tell yourself that you're good, and that's one thing that you told yourself, that you belong to be there, you deserve to be there, and you belong there. So whatever bullying, whatever case may be, may happen, just gonna find you with a thick wall. It's amazing how you did not know how to cry because crying was seen as weakness. Yet we are dealing with a lot of traumas right now because people don't know how to cry. They don't know how to be weak. And we always say it's okay to cry. It's okay to be weak. It's okay to feel like, today is not happening. Yet here you are, you managed to develop something. What then did you do mentally to try and resolve all that anger, to try and channel it back into where it's supposed to be? Because believe you me, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel weak. I don't think we're not invincible. So yes, one day you're gonna wake up and you feel like Macho Man, but the next day you're just gonna wake up and you feel like an ant. Have you done anything therapy-wise to try and resolve all that anger, that boiling up and everything else that was right there when you were growing up and building your career? Because girl, you've done so much. You've achieved so much. I don't think pinching yourself is enough. You've done so much for yourself, for your country, and for your peers, for your family as well. Have you dealt with that part?
I would, for the most part, yes. When I was younger, any opportunity to cry, I took it with both hands. So I'll give an example. Let's say, and I'd make sure it's an appropriate time. You fall, you hurt yourself, you cry. I would cry almost three or four times harder than what the occasion requires, because there was just so much emotion, and I would just let it out. And I would say only after I left high school did I understand the concept of mental health, and understood the importance of talking about the things that you've been through, and have genuine, healthy ways to go through it. Because my relationships with my peers, my colleagues, here I was very tense, very angry, and so nobody wanted to be around me, because just at the flip of a switch, is an angry outburst. So, it was after I left school that I then started dealing with the things I was going through, started talking about what has happened. And even now, I make sure, I don't cry all the time, but, if something has, invokes an emotional response that, I need to cry, I will cry. I will journal. I will write my feelings down. I do, especially to deal with everything that I went through in my younger years. I had to speak to someone. I went and I got counseling and found healthy ways to deal with these things. Nowadays there's so much literature on it, where there's books where you can read about it, podcasts where having emotions isn't the problem, it's how you express them. And you want to express them in a way that won't alienate people, won't push people away, but you're still saying what's happening. And sometimes, as you said earlier, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm not okay, and you need help. And if anything, if I didn't deal with everything I went through, I can 100% say that I would not have got to where I am now. And I don't think I would be a very pleasant person to be around.
Wow. Amazing. Sharne, it's amazing that you say it's okay to be vulnerable, and you said you take time, or whenever there's an opportunity, to cry and journaling and all that. Which of the two or which of the three do you find easier for you to sort of express your emotions? Or which method? Is it the journaling or speaking to somebody?
I think it's a combination of speaking to someone I trust and journaling, because because I travel a lot, I to speak that I trust what life, but I am in a position to journal and write down what I'm feeling so that I can go through it and use the techniques that I've gained over the years to really feel what I'm feeling and go through it, so that I don't carry it into my next experience, or I can learn from it. Because that's the most important thing. You don't want to be making the same mistake twice. You want to learn from your mistakes. And sometimes, things don't work, but it's always, and you're going to make the mistakes more than once, but it's about acknowledging it and moving forward. We're not perfect, and it's just all about learning and, giving ourselves a little bit of a break and being patient and finding what works for you as an individual.
Yeah. You mentioned the traveling, and I was going to get into that, but from a different angle. You travel a lot. Gee whiz, yes. One can never understand where you are at whatever. So people don't ever know exactly where you are and at what point. How do you manage relationships and family? Because at the end of the day, you also need to see mom, you also need to see dad, you also need to see your brother and all that. How do you manage the mental aspects of being away from family for such long periods of time?
This is the beauty of the modern day is our cell phones. I'm able to video chat, I'm able to call, send a text. This is it has made traveling so much easier. And I also make sure that, especially, your Christmas holiday, where I want to be around my family, because those are the times where I really feel that I'm not with my family, is when you can't be together for your holidays, your family holidays, your family time. So those are the times where I try and make every effort to be with them. And when I can't, or situations don't allow me, like, the COVID pandemic, there was a Christmas where I spent alone because I tested positive, and I wasn't allowed to see anyone. So it's all about understanding and communication. They know that I think about them, and I know that they think about me, and they also, like I said, they're very supportive of my career, and this is just part of my career.
And romantically, how are you going to manage a relationship when you're always away from your partner?
That's the beauty of it. Well, at the moment, I'm single.
Okay. Gents, ladies and gentlemen, Sharne is single and searching.
Yes, I am single. Searching, not so much. One day, when I meet the right gentleman. But I would never ever say no. What comes will come. You can never, you can't force it to happen. But in terms of maintaining a relationship, it's also about communication and it's part about being supportive and prioritizing. You must make time to see your partner when you can. And if with the right person, it's so much easier to do because they understand what you're trying to do as well. No relationship is easy, and when I'm around you, when we're together in the past, it's about being present, being in the room with them. Put your phone away, actually invest time in this, because that's what relationships are about.
Yeah. Prioritizing and making sure that one makes time for certain things. I'm pretty sure, especially coming from lockdown, yes, in as much as you're talking to your people, you're talking to your family on the phone, but at some point it really gets to you because you want that physical you want to be in the same room with your parents, you want to be in the same room with your siblings, cousins, whatever the case may be. Do you ever suffer from such, especially being away from home for long periods of time?
You know, I sometimes I do, but as especially in the beginning, it was difficult. But as I got older, and like now, periods where I am away, and I haven't been away from my family for very long on this trip, it's not so hard, because one of the first things I try and do is, once I get my calendar, I try and work out exactly when I can go and see them. So I know for a fact Christmas this year, at the moment, I'm not saying anything, but at the moment I will see them.
Awesome.
At the moment we will be together at Christmas.
Awesome.
And I also know that next week I will see them. So, you know, it's just all about planning. You know, it's just, you have to be without seeing them.
Wow. Wow. Has cricket in Zimbabwe, especially for girls, is it developing from the time that you first started to get into the professional scene? Where is club cricket in for women in terms of development?
Oh, so when I first started playing, women's club cricket was booming. There was clubs with, you know, where you'd have two women's teams, and playing very competitive cricket. And then there was a period where, you know, that fell away, and it fell away for a long time. So women were now forced to go and play in the men's teams in their lower leagues, just to try and keep the game going. And, you know, it just goes to attest to the economic situation in the country, because these leagues do need money. And it's very difficult, because you need the players to come from schools. And if cricket is asking for money, parents also are very reluctant to send their kids to cricket, because what career path is that? Yeah. And what future is there? So, you know, for a while, cricket was caught in a catch-22, or women's cricket. It's recently, in the last few years, I'd say it's from about 2019, well, more 2020, where women's cricket was starting to pick up because of the Under-19 World Cup. That's where, you know, you're now looking at, we need more girls playing cricket. So now there are more girls playing cricket. It is on the up, but it is not where it was when I first started playing many years ago.
Yeah. So is it on the up for the better, or when you played it was a lot better? At the rate, and when you started playing, the rate at which it was on the up would be more than it is now, or it's less?
When I started playing, it was more competitive back then. However, back then there wasn't, if you played for your province, and that was the highest you could go. There wasn't a national team, because I was part of the first ever national team that was selected for Zimbabwe. So when I first started playing, there was no national team.
Girl, do you know that is such a record? Are you saying it so modestly, like I was part of the first people that played for the national team? No, come on, jeez.
For me, you know, I look at it, and back then I was a very naive 14-year-old girl that was just excited to go on my first trip by myself. Wow. Without my parents, by myself. And it was just an opportunity to play cricket, because that was also, it was very early in high school when I realized I wasn't going to be playing cricket with the likes of Heath Streak. And, you know, it was in that moment where I realized, okay, you know, when I was 11, I wanted to play with Heath and Andy, and I wanted to be, you know, I wanted them to be my teammates. And then I realized, you know, when cricket became real, that no, girl, you're not going to be playing. Heath isn't going to be your teammate.
But then at the same time, that was big dreams, and I love it. And yeah, may Heath Streak's soul rest in peace. Such a sad loss for the whole entire cricketing body. And I love what you were saying in that, saying you would want to be in the same team as those guys. That just shows how big of a dreamer you were. And through those dreams, you're realizing them right now that you're actually living in those dreams. Yes, you're not in the same team as Andy Flower, but you're still living exactly like they did. And kudos to you. Well done on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, my grade 6 teacher reminds me that I wrote that down. She's, to this day, she reminds me.
Wow, look at you. What advice would you give though to a girl that has been pursuing cricket, and two, to a girl that sees cricket on TV and thinks, I think I could make something out of this. I don't know how to hold a cricket bat. I don't know what happens, but I think this could be a career for them. Then to the one that is already holding a cricket bat and playing club cricket or whatever, and thinking maybe this is just for fun, and probably I'm not going to make professional. I'm not going to do anything out of my cricket. What advice would you give to those two girls?
For the girl that's just starting out, that doesn't know how to hold a cricket bat, there are women that I've played with that only started playing cricket at 16. When I say started, that's the first time they held a cricket bat, and they represented their country a few years later. And so it's possible. It is possible. Be stubborn in your pursuit of your passion. That is for both those girls. Be stubborn in your pursuits. The road isn't always straight. There will be turns. There were times where my career went in the complete opposite direction of cricket. I've taken a break from cricket during my career, and all I will say is don't stop and just be stubborn. Just be a sponge. Be a sponge. Take it all in. Take as much of the game as you can in, because it will grow your love of the game. And when you have a love of the game, even when times are tough and it's difficult, you won't want to leave for too long.
Wow. You know what? This is surreal to me. Having this conversation and you advising that girl, and you may take it lightly, but I promise you. And I still remember when you came to South Africa, and you came to Joburg rather, and you were playing for a few clubs. Randburg Cricket Club was one of them. And the amount of girls that started believing just because they were playing with an international. But there's a big but. The way you were so hard on these girls was, if a girl drops a catch, you're still going to say, hey, that is nonsense. That is unacceptable. Is it because it's credit to how you were coached that made you so hard? And most of these girls, we all know girls are soft. They're scared of the ball. They're scared of pain and all of this. Yet you were so hard on them. As I just want to get into your mind with regards to your hardness. Is it credit to the way you were raised up and you turned out all right? That's why you're hard on your younger players.
No, I do think some of the coaches I had were a little bit too hard on me, especially given my age, because I did have my own issues related to anxiety when it came to that. When I first came to Joburg and I played for Randburg, for me, what stood out was the raw talent that those girls have. I can't even say had, and Randburg was my club until very recently, but the raw talent. And I couldn't believe that these girls didn't believe in themselves, that they thought, oh, I'll only ever play club cricket. I'll never be good enough to play for the Lions, to play, potentially knock on the door. I mean, most of the girls are very young. Some of them are under 19s. So to go and play for the under 19s, potentially go up the ranks and, put some pressure at the top level. So for me, it was, I'm hard on you, not because that's how I was coached. I'm hard on you because I can see how good you can be. I can see that if you, especially with these younger players, if they are just, if they push themselves, they could go to immense heights. And I think that was realized in the one season where we won the Black Widow T20 competition, and played the final at the Wanderers, and we came second in the league. Whereas before, if we were finishing, in fourth place, it was a good season for us, for Randburg as a club.
Yeah.
So we went from finishing, we were, in my opinion, it was an average start. So we went from there to, we're now dominating the league, and the players didn't change. The only thing that changed was the belief and holding each other accountable, because you had, in my opinion, you have some really talented players, but we also need to change our mindset around that. Oh, women are soft and they don't want to get hurt. I'm like, look, if we can see, look, yeah, a ball, will hit your hand, it might sting for the first few times, but the body adjusts and you won't feel it anymore. If you catch correctly, you won't feel it. But if you allow them to be soft, or if you allow any player, I mean, you're a coach, if you allow a young boy to be soft and complain when things are hard, he's not going to achieve. And it's the same thing with women. If you allow that player to to not push themselves and not reach their potential, if they keep saying they want to reach their potential, and you allow them to take the easy route out, they won't see success. Yeah. So, yes, I will say it was hard, but because there was just so much untapped potential.
Wow. Amazing. Sharne, is it Sharne or Shan? Hello?
Hello?
Are you there? Yeah, you're back, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes.
Shan.
Is it Shan or Sharne?
Hi, it's Shan.
Shan, okay, awesome. If you were to relive your life.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, again, yeah. Oh, okay, we're back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, your mic is off.
Oh. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, that was a blonde moment from me.
I thought my son was fiddling or something with the Wi-Fi or something, so I was like, oh gosh, no. I was asking, is it Sharne or is Shan?
Shan.
Okay. If you were to relive your life, what would you do differently?
I would study more.
Okay. Tell us more.
I would read more.
Okay.
I would read more. I think I'm only seeing the benefit of knowledge now. I would read a whole lot more and just widen my horizons a lot more, so that I could get a lot more experience and understand different perspectives. So I think that's the only thing I would change, is genuinely just read more, study more, because, they say knowledge is power. And yeah, so that's the only thing I would genuinely change.
Wow. Before I let you go, I still got two more questions. What drives you? Because
Sure.
you strike me as a hungry woman. And I asked you earlier why you haven't written a book, and you said your story is not done. But then for someone to say something so powerful like that, you ask yourself, what's the driving force behind all this hunger and passion?
It's hard to explain and put into words, but I would say the major driving force is I want more people playing cricket. I really want more, especially women in Zimbabwe, in Africa, involved in sport. I want to see this game become more global, to see more African teams, more African women excelling in this space. And, it doesn't not only internationally, but even just domestically. I would love to see, when you go to the cricket club, or you're in spaces where families are, you're seeing girls playing sport, girls playing cricket, soccer. It doesn't matter what they're playing. That's what I want to see that. And for that to happen, for the young players or the young girls to be able to do that, there needs to be representation. And so if there isn't representation, well, let me go out and be that representation. Let me make it easier for the next person.
Wow, amazing stuff.
And I also have a lot of fun doing it.
Wow, wow, amazing. You mentioned that you're an international hockey coach. At what point did you then, because there is no way you're going to balance the two, because both they need you, or they need your attention equally the same, the traveling, the hotel living, the different cultures, you name it. How does one do that, and how are you balancing the hockey and the cricket?
Okay, so just to clarify, I'm not a coach. I'm an umpire. So
is it a ref or umpire? Yeah, that. Yeah, sorry.
Umpire. Yeah.
The umpire. Yeah.
It's one thing is, the beauty of it is they aren't in the same season. Well, in Africa, for the most part, they aren't in the same season. And I, to date, haven't had too much of a clash in terms of their schedules. And, there was a close call at the end of the year, but unfortunately, my knee injury has pulled me out of both cricket and hockey. So that was going to be, I'd say, my only real clash. Yeah. But essentially, it works out. Hockey umpiring is a lot of running, so it keeps me fit, it keeps me in the game. And also in the off season from cricket, I'm able to focus on something completely different that isn't cricket, so that my mind remains fresh, but I'm also still keeping fit within hockey. Yeah. So they kind of complement each other. And also, I mean, I played internationally. I represented Zimbabwe national women many years ago. So, it's the same, like a similar sized ball, but in hockey you're hitting it with a much smaller, weapon. So, so in that aspect, there were lots of things that complemented each other. And for me, I just love both sports. I absolutely love it. And if I can give to both games, I will. And I like to say about my umpiring, I love watching hockey, and as an umpire, I'm able to watch the game, have the best seat in the house, but I'm also able to give back to the game. And as a player, it was hard to manage because the injury risk was so high, and I would come back from a hockey injury and it would affect my cricket playing, and vice versa. So I was like, something's got to give. And I stopped playing. I started umpiring hockey so that I could continue playing cricket. And it just worked out. And I to be honest, I don't have a magic formula to say how they work out, but so far it's been so good.
They do, yeah. I also wanted to ask, is there anything that you haven't achieved and you've been successful? You've represented your country in cricket, represented your country in hockey, then you get to a point, you're like, okay, I'll go to cricket. How does one survive in your shoes knowing that you can literally do anything? At this point in time, whatever that you're touching remains gold. Your international hockey status is gold. Your cricket status is gold. Wherever in Joburg, everyone's still talking about you. In Zimbabwe, they'll talk about you. You were part of the first crew to be in a squad for the national team in Zimbabwe. All those achievements, do those kind of make you feel like you are invincible? Or how do you, because it's easier because of all those successes, it's easier to have a big head, to grow a big head, to be arrogant. Yet with all these successes, you're still as humble as, I don't know. What keeps you grounded?
Well, firstly, thank you. You know, I've never even looked at it like that. But I guess my family keep me very grounded. You know, because in their eyes, I'm not my achievements. I am, you know, to my parents, I am still their youngest daughter. I am still, you know, that's who I am, regardless of what I've done. You know, what you've done, okay, it's good, well done. But, you know, in my house, you are still a child, regardless of how old you are.
Wow.
So
I like that.
You know, so that is, so that helps me. And I guess like any siblings, you know, my siblings also make it very clear that, you know, you are not a national team player when you come here. That's your job, or that's you know, that's all it is, you know, because in that case, you know, my sister's her job. And for me, especially when, and this is advice I also give to young players I work with, you are not your achievements. Because if your identity is linked to your sport or to what you can achieve, the moment you go through a bad patch of form or you're struggling, you're going to find that your whole life could fall apart, because that is your identity. And so for me, it's the two things are very separate. What I do, it's what I do, it's not who I am. And that's how I'm able to balance and, you know, remain grounded, to be very grateful for every opportunity.
Wow. Sharne, you've been amazing. Next thing, you need to take up motivational speaking or keynote speaking, because there is so much wisdom in what you say. And I know, you know, when you've got people that you're feeding off, they're feeding off your hands because you just keep on speaking and they just want to keep on listening. That's exactly what's happening. But I know that you're a busy woman and you also need to go. The last one before I let you go, I promise you right now, I'm going to let you go after this one. A wise woman once said, please complete that statement and give us a statement that you live by.
Oh, now, please, excuse the analogy. Excuse the analogy. A wise woman once said, opportunity is like a man with hair only on the front of his head, right? When he walks past, you must grab opportunity here, because once he walks past you, it's very hard to get it again. So when opportunity comes, grab it with both hands.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You've been amazing. You've been an amazing guest, and we would love to have you again and again and again and again. And I'm so glad that you're still a friend of the show and you're following what we're doing as well. So thank you so much for taking your time and being a loyal fan from the background. And I know that I've got so many people that are rooting for me, even though I don't see them, but I know that there are people that are wishing me well. So thank you. And I'm wishing you well in everything that you're doing and all your endeavors. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. It's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome stuff. We'll speak soon then.
Definitely. We'll see you in Joburg.
Awesome stuff. Take care. And there we have it. That was Sharne Mayers. And what an absolute human being. She's a lady with a big dream. And before you leave, for the people that are on podcast, please do me a favor. Please rate, please share, please subscribe to this channel. On YouTube, you subscribe. On Apple Podcast, you subscribe. On Spotify and everything else, you follow, or wherever you get your podcast from. I'll see you guys bright and early as we carry on with Game On and everything else that we do. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making sure that you are there each and every week. As I do what I do, you are there to support me. You are there praying for me. So thank you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. But the most important thing is to stay safe, keep believing, and God loves you. Cheers for now.